Many people have problems with art and not with reality.
A way to sort of cause trouble.
Yeah, it does something strange with your head.
Welcome to the Undergang Armchair.
Bring it.
Yes. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Undergang Armchair podcast. I am Ando, your faithful host, and I'm coming at you live from a little island in the north of Denmark. Today we're doing a rerun, guys. Summer's caught up to us. We haven't had any interviews in a while, and we need a moment to gather our thoughts. And, we're thinking a lot about this show and how to make it better, trying to rework some things. We have a talk with somebody we hope you haven't heard. It's one of the old episodes with Jacob Aue Sobol, a good friend of ours, a very talented photographer, and a very interesting person. It's a damn good talk, and he's one of the best artists we have here in Denmark. He shoots with his heart. He's an amazingly hard worker, incredible drive and, desire to do what he does. And it hasn't gone unnoticed. He's the only photographer in Denmark ever to become a Magnum photographer with the world famous Magnum photo agency. If you guys don't know who that is, definitely check out the link on our site. And that's all the intro I'm going to do here. After this talk, I'm going to tell you more about where I am right now, what I won, because I won something cool, and more about what we're thinking about this show and how to change it and make it better. For now, let's let Jacob take it away.
It just continues, the sun just continues to shine in Copenhagen for like 2 months in a row.
Another beautiful morning here.
another beautiful morning here in
sunny Copenhagen.
That's pretty crazy, man.
All right. Jacob.
Yes.
What do they call you in America? Are you Jacob Aue Sobol?
Well, some people call me Jacob. I think the people that know me well call me Jacob, and the rest of them call me Jacob.
Aue Sobol?
Yes, Aue Sobol.
How does that make you feel?
Like an Aue Sobol. Well, I don't know. It's just... I don't think anyone can pronounce my name right, so...
Can I pronounce your name right? Do I say it right? Wait, hold on, let me try in Danish here. Jacob Aue Sobol.
No, it's wrong.
Shit. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Jacob Aue Sobol.
Sobol.
Not Sobol.
Alright.
Or Sobol.
See, that's the American shining through.
Yeah.
Sobol.
Yeah, no, in America they say Sobol, huh?
Sobol. Yeah, you'd say Sobol.
Sobol.
So, where do you come from, Jacob?
Where do I come from? I come from Denmark. I come from the suburbs. I grew up in the suburbs of Copenhagen.
Now, see, I think this is important. You come from Brøndby, right?
Brøndby Beach, yeah.
And people from that area are really proud of Brøndby.
Yeah, that's great.
Why? What's
you mean the football team? Or
no, just people from that area. People from that area have this like, we're from Brøndby. We're from Vestegnen. We're from the western suburbs of Copenhagen.
Drengene fra Vestegnen.
Exactly.
Drengene fra Vestegnen.
You guys are more hardcore.
Oh, more hard. No, but it's true that I think I loved growing up south of Copenhagen in Brøndby. And I went to high school in Ishøj.
Do you call that Copenhagen? If someone asks you where you're from, do you say Copenhagen?
No.
No,
I would never. No, it's never Copenhagen. No,
it's a bunch of assholes in Copenhagen, right?
Yeah. Bunch of. Oh, fuck, man. No, but when we were teenagers and stuff, it was like Copenhagen was somewhere completely else with a completely different atmosphere. Different from the suburbs, and I don't know. I think we had a good with a sammenhold, togetherness in this area. Mm-hmm. I mean,
right. That's
we had a lot of crew, even though it's like you felt that you were part of a crew or something. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of people painting graffiti, doing rap and listening to rap music and blah blah blah, and so part of being part of this was also, being part of a crew.
Right. And you were into rap music when you were a kid.
Should I do some freestyle?
That'd be amazing.
No, I would say that I was on the sideline.
You were on the sideline, yeah.
Of some, but Outlandish was one of the groups that grew out of Brøndby Strand.
Right, and that's one of the bigger Danish musical groups.
Yeah.
Right. Right. I mean, there's a fair amount of rap and hip hop culture over there. Whereas people from Copenhagen, they're just into, hippie music and indie rock and stuff, right? Isn't that the way it works?
That's you saying that stuff, not me.
Well, I don't know. I'm not from here.
But one other thing was, of course, the football team that we cannot. I mean, or the soccer team.
Right.
It's a different thing, but every Sunday there would be like 20,000 on stadium, sometimes more, and that's like half of the population in all of Brøndby.
Did you go down and watch games?
Sometimes, yeah.
Was it crazy?
It's crazy. The atmosphere at our stadium is it's crazy compared to other cities or other soccer teams. Actually, I'm going there on Sunday. We are playing FCK. Uh-huh. And we're gonna kick their asses, and I just want to be there for them.
I want to go see a game, actually, because you guys are like the underdog team. You're the working class, rowdy, drinking, partying, troublemaking. You're the Oakland Raiders compared to the SF 49ers or something like that.
I don't know what the fuck that is.
That's American football.
But yeah, I mean. Yeah, that's the feeling you get when you're at the stadium. One bit that it's working class, and it's like Liverpool, man. But
that makes
sense. It's about your heart and your emotions. It's not about like when FCK before Brøndby was the best team for maybe 15 years in Denmark, and then FCK came up and and then they became the best, and probably for the last 10-15 years, I don't know. But now, the people in Brøndby never stopped supporting the team. I mean,
that's a real fan, instead of jumping on only when they're winning. That's how it is.
It is a real fan culture out there, but. It's also about many other things than being a fan. It's about sticking together.
I have a feeling that it's more racially integrated than a lot of other parts of Denmark. This is just a feeling. What do you think?
Racial integrated. I think it is. I think we have like 100 different nationalities in Brøndby Kommune,
but it just seems like it doesn't matter where you come from originally. You're from Brøndby. It doesn't matter if you're of Middle Eastern descent or Danish or what.
Well, if you think about the fact that you have people from 100 different cultural backgrounds living in the same suburb,
right? Which is quite small in actuality, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very intimate space actually. Mm-hmm. Then it's quite amazing that there are not more problems than there are.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about high school. Was that you went to high school in Ishøj, which is another neighboring suburb?
Yeah.
Was that good?
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, I started in high school in Copenhagen at Christianshavn's gymnasium.
Right.
Because I thought it fit well with my personality and so on, but I was mistaken. I mean, there was a lot of wannabes, hippies from the with rich parents coming down to play hippies near Christiania and stuff like this.
Right.
And But I don't know. I just didn't fit in, and then I had problems. I got into a fight with a teacher.
What, like a physical fight or an argument?
Yeah. It started as an argument, but it almost became physical. And then
were you an angry kid or what?
No, he just I just didn't put up with stuff.
Right.
That like he was so much into the girls in the class and their tits and stuff.
And you were
he was an old greasy guy, and I just told him what I thought about him.
And he didn't like that at all?
He didn't like it, and he put down my grades and stuff to punish me. And so I didn't put up with that, and it came into a fight, and then I decided to change back to the suburbs.
Were you there for a year? Or more
1 year.
Yeah.
So I took first degree. Yeah, I took it
first. It's like freshman of high school.
Yeah,
first year.
So I did that over,
and that was much better.
Yeah,
back with your people.
I was back in my hood, back with my boys.
Now, did you know you wanted to be a photographer at that point? Did you have any idea what you were doing?
No, not at all. I didn't know.
Did you have any plan? Nothing.
No.
You just wanted to have a good time.
Yeah, I think it was in the second year. Well, then I went to Canada for 1 year to live as an exchange student in Ontario, near a small city town called Strathroy, near London, Ontario. So it's in the middle between the border to the U.S., Detroit, and Toronto.
It's fucking cold there.
It's fucking cold, man. I remember once I went to buy a Coke in the supermarket, and on my way home I wanted to drink it, and it was already frozen, just from 5 minutes walk. I mean,
it's colder there. It's a different kind of cold.
But I love the cold weather, and almost when you pee outside, it freezes before it hits the ground. It's crazy.
That's pure living right there. That's joy.
But I think it started with that kind of. Also, my years in Greenland and stuff, and now working in Siberia a lot.
You really are attracted to the north.
I'm really attracted to the north and the cold and the darkness. And that's what makes me feel alive.
Well, that's actually what I was going to ask you later. Why you didn't live in Spain? But you've already answered that. But okay, so you went to high school, and that was all well and fine. And then after that, you graduated, and then you stood there and were what? What did you decide to do?
Well, during the last 2 years of high school, I had this class called Film and TV Production. And that's when I first got interested in visual expression, or whatever you can call it. So I made these short films, and I didn't know... I got so excited about making film that I applied for the European Film College in Abeltoft.
Right, in Jutland.
Yeah, in Jutland. North.
So you wanted to be a filmmaker?
Yeah.
What kind of films did you want to make?
I don't know. I don't
just wanted to make a film director?
Yeah. No, I didn't want to be a director. I wanted to be... At that time, I think I wanted to be a cinematographer.
Okay, so you already knew a camera was a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think maybe I wanted to do both. I'm not sure. I didn't... I mean, I was 20, so you don't know shit about it.
You want to do everything when you're 20. So,
but
did you get into the school?
Yeah, I got into the school, and the thing is that the problem at that school was that they only had like 6 people who could start at cinematography class, and there was like 112 students. It was a school for rich.
That's not very well set up.
And then but you could make your first choice, your second choice, your third choice, and so on.
Right.
And then at some point you would get there was kind of I think a computer doing this calculation of how you would get your choices or whatever. Okay. But I never got what I wanted. I mean, I never got cinematography.
So did you get script writing and prop stuffing and? Or you just got shit you didn't care about?
Yeah, I got all the shitty classes, man. But then I said, okay, for each how do you say, term, you could apply with a script or a project, and if they chose your project, you would become the director of the project.
They would produce a piece.
Yeah. So I decided to that should be my game, because I didn't get the cinematography class. So I got all my projects through. So I made like 3 films there when I was there.
Okay.
Documentary.
So the scene is you're a natural talent who's being denied your choices in classes, but you just went around it and made movies.
Well, I don't know if I was a natural talent.
Well, obviously they took your scripts.
Yeah, they took my scripts, yeah.
But what happened to those movies? Are they lying on a shelf at home somewhere?
Yeah, it's not amazing work, I have to say. But
is there anything good in it?
Experimenting, yeah. There was one project that I got inspiration from later. That it's from the suburbs. Oh, it's a train. It was called Take the A Train, and it was from a train leading from Hundi in the suburbs where I come from, and then to Hillerød in the north of Copenhagen. And the idea was to show the change of living, the change of mentality, going from the suburbs, the working class suburbs south of Copenhagen to the rich areas north of Copenhagen.
And it is quite different.
Yeah, it is quite different.
Did you just shoot out the window, or?
No, we interviewed people in the train and on the stations, and we went out with some different people to show the different ways of living and thinking. Okay. So I think that project was probably the one that was closest to my own, like a personal project, and that I could see as a bigger thing as well in other cities or whatever.
So then what happened? Did you finish the school there?
Well, one thing I discovered at that school was also that they had a dark room, and at this time I was kind of a lonely writer as well. I didn't like to be with other people. I didn't like to socialize.
Now, is this the kind of romanticized lonely writer that only likes to socialize with people he likes, or you really just didn't like socializing at all?
No, I was at that time I was full of phobia. Social, how do you call it?
Social anxiety.
Social anxiety. Yeah. It was because the year before, my father died in a car accident, and then I lived alone with my mother for half a year. And before that, I had never been anxious before.
How old were you when this happened?
20.
Okay.
20 years old. Yeah.
Okay.
And I know the kind of reaction from my mother, because of course she had lived with my father for her whole life, and losing him was crazy, of course. But she had this terrible anxiety attacks.
Well, that's what anxiety does. It spreads to people around you.
Yeah. So I think what happened, I spent this half year also like finishing my high school. I had to take all the exams, and at the same time trying to get my mother back on her feet. And so when I finally moved away, my twin brother came back from Guatemala, and that was kind of a crazy relief for me.
Because you were alone with your mother.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it was like he could kind of take over because I went to the film college. Right. But then I found out as soon as I got to the film college that I was full of anxiety. And it came up every time I had to talk, or every time I had to basically be around other people.
Do you think it's because you never had a chance to deal with it yourself? I mean, I know of a similar situation. A friend of mine in California, his father died when he was young, and he was alone with his mother, and I don't want to say he had to be the man, but he felt he had a certain sense of responsibility over the situation, and I think it took longer for him to give himself a chance to deal with the feelings and the anxiety and the overwhelmingness of it.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't know if we didn't know much about it at that time, but I didn't see any psychologist during that half year. It was not before I went to the film college, and I totally broke. Things started falling apart for me, and I started seeing someone who I could talk with about it.
Right.
But before that, no one, and I think today that's crazy. Like, there was no help. I mean, in the sense that today, if something like this happens to you, you would get this.
Right. Well, nowadays there's a crisis psychologist
and whatever will be there right away.
Right.
But it didn't happen.
Right.
No one ever asked me.
That was the 90s when everyone thought, well, you just cry it out and you'll be fine. Or not even that. You drink it out, I guess.
Yeah.
So did you finish that school, though?
Yeah.
Was it a 2-year program or what?
No, just 1 year.
Oh, okay.
And things like after 4 months, things started getting better for me. In terms of being there, living there, and producing work. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I had fallen in love with the darkroom and making still photography, because I did it so well that all the other productions, they wanted me to be the still photography on their film. But I mean, to me, it was fun to try and stuff. But I would still. I need to be in charge of things, so I could never be like doing work for someone else.
Yeah, let's face it, you can't take orders from anybody else.
No.
Right. So you realized that right away, and you just said, you know what, I can't work on a film set. There's hundreds of people working there.
Yeah.
Someone's going to try to tell me what to do.
It's too crazy, and yeah, then you have to be the director that tells everyone else what to do. But it was too much for me as well. It was not like I found out with the camera, with the still photo camera, that I could walk out by myself and I could go on some adventure or experience, and I could meet another person and have this intimate encounter that no one else was a part of. It was just me and this person, and I thought that was completely amazing. And I could go home and develop my film and make the print, and then I had the result already of that encounter. And also I found out that I didn't know at that time, but later when I applied to Fata Morgana, the Danish School of Art Photography, I think it's called. I really understood. When I started there, I got to understand the connection between my own inner life and the images I created. I got to understand that it could use as a mean of self-expression or as a mirror.
Do you think you didn't understand that in the beginning? Do you think in the beginning it was just fun?
Yeah, I think, no, it was not fun, but it was not about... It was about someone else or something else. It was about what was out there. And
it was more documentary.
Yeah, if I photographed a guy, I thought it would be about him. Okay. Not about myself.
Right.
And
that's an interesting lesson, because, a camera is a lie. People think it's used as something to document truth. Any sort of journalism, any of that stuff. Oh, here's a picture. This must be happening. But it's not.
No.
It's completely subjective, the way you take the picture, how wide the angle is. You can have a picture of a kid. At least I saw a picture from Palestine where they show a photograph of a kid wearing a face mask throwing a Molotov cocktail. And then there's another picture of this kid standing alone in a street. It's the exact same picture, surrounded by photographers, and he's throwing the Molotov cocktail at nothing.
Yeah.
So the first picture looks like he's in the middle of a war zone. In the second picture, you realize there's 12 photographers taking a picture of a kid not fighting with anybody.
Yeah.
And, one was on the front cover of newspapers and the other one wasn't.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. So it must have been interesting to realize that, like, oh, I can control this.
Yeah, and, exactly. And that's That's the hypocrisy of. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Hypocrisy of photojournalism. Sometimes
Exactly.
the story you are telling, that they have all kinds of rules for what you are allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. Can you frame your? Can you crop your image after you have taken your picture?
Right.
But what's the difference? I mean, cropping it after or cropping it when you're at the set, because you when you crop it at the set, you in the field or wherever. You're showing you're part of reality in that moment, and I just don't get the difference.
Right, whatever's left out is just as important as what's in the image.
And that's one thing. Then you have all the kind of stuff. They have conflicts about editing the pictures and blah blah blah.
That's right. The World Press Photos has arguments about that, don't they?
Of course, there has to be some kind of, I don't know if should be called rules or some ethics about what you can do and what you can't. I don't know, but I just it's complicated.
Yeah, it is complicated. Well, so okay, let's go back. You graduated from this film school.
Well, I mean, wait, just a second. I mean, when I talk about rules, I'm not talking about photography, and I'm just talking about news photography.
Right. Well, I mean, there probably has to be some sort of standard.
Yeah, if your picture is run on the front page of a newspaper, there should be, maybe if it's a collage you made, maybe it should just tell it's a collage. But
I think that's more of an issue for the journalists than it is for the photographers.
Yeah,
they should explain, or at least I feel like the presentation has as much to do with it as the actual picture does itself. But the thing is that you can't put up all these rules. It's not what is important. It's more the final message you are sending out, or the final story you want to tell. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When did you decide to go to Fata Morgana? When I was at the film college. Okay, so you immediately were like, "Fuck film. I'm going to be a photographer." Yes. Okay. And so you applied right away, or what? Yes. Did you get in right away? Yes. Man, you just never get denied anything. Yes, I do. Okay. But not in my work. Right, not what you admit. In my love life. Oh, right, okay. Well, we all do, believe me. But, okay, so you got into Fata Morgana. It's a 2-year program. It's an independent school, kind of, right? It's not state-run. Yes, independent. Uh-huh. Private school, I guess you call it. Yeah, and then what? Did you love it? Were you immediately like, this is home? No. Yeah, I was scared like hell because there's this crazy guy running the school, Morten Bo. Right, yeah. And I should interview him. He is so intense, and you get all, frightened, and what is going on? Something is happening inside you that you don't know what it is. I mean, he pushes you, and but I think the most tough thing for me in the beginning was that he wasn't interested in me. Right. Like he thought I was boring. He called me the bank guy, the bank manager or something. Because you were just boring and stuffy. Yeah, but I think it was not. I was not boring and stuffy. It was just not. He was just not using the right key. I mean, I was anxious, and I was scared. And well, he may have been trying to teach you a lesson too. Locked down. Yeah, maybe. But then I made one project from LaLandia, which is this entertainment. That's an amusement park. Amusement park. Yeah. Amusement park. Uh-huh. And he was completely blown away by it. So all of a sudden you were in the club. And then he got really excited about my work, and then it made me really excited as well. I think at that time, when you are beginning of your 20s, when someone else that has so much knowledge and respect as Morten Bo, it's amazing how much confidence he can stuff in your head. Right. I still now, 15 years after, I can still hear him. Do you think it was kind of game changing for you? Is that where you decided, I can do this? Yes. Thanks, Morten Bo. Have you told him this? But he knows, man. He knows. Yeah. He does a lot of talks for me
when I have opening of exhibitions.
Right.
But it's the confidence, he put into me at that time. I still carry that with me.
Well, it sounds like it was a really good education. Not only did they kind of mind fuck you and open up your mind, you said something was happening, you didn't know what, but also he helped provide confidence for you until that you were good at what you were doing.
Yeah, but he's a black and white guy in the sense that either you're in or out. I mean, it sounds a bit tough. That's why I have to say also, in some cases, for some students it was terrible. Mm-hmm. But for some it was for most, I would say, it was life changing.
Right. Well, there's other people who've gone on to have a fair amount of success as photographers. Yeah,
for sure. There's a lot. I don't know No.
So, what happened afterwards? After you graduated?
After Fata Morgana, I only went there for 1 year, right? Mm-hmm. So that's basically the education. It's not an education I have, but like a 1 year class in art photography.
Okay.
I would say documentary and art photography because it was also that school is also about connecting those different that we are not separated. And I think in Denmark there's this thing with the documentary photography and art photography that the two things don't.
Right, it's not the same thing at all.
It can't be the same thing, right. And it's laughable.
That's so Danish to compartmentalize everything.
It's hilarious. Because if you go to Paris or New York and especially Paris, where photography, so much history,
right?
Then they think you're telling a joke when you say that documentary is not necessarily seen as art, could be art,
right.
in Denmark, or
right.
looked at as art.
Well, it is pretty much a joke.
It's crazy,
right?
Because it's not, of course, art is not defined by if it's documentary or if it's something else. It's defined by something completely else. Something completely. To me, of course, the connection between, the artist and the work he creates. I don't care what you call it. I mean, it's just a word. It's just a box.
Right.
You're put in. It doesn't matter.
Sure.
What is interesting is what you're creating, right?
Right. Well, I think the Danish idea about art is somewhat limited in a way. I know it's maybe a little harsh to say that, but I also think it's expanding. The good news about it coming from a narrow scope is there's a lot of space for it to grow in right now. But if you compare it to somewhere like, France or even Sweden has a much richer history of photography than Denmark does, and a much greater respect for it. But that gives, people like you a lot of space to work in. Right?
Well, I don't know. I forgot about Denmark a long time ago regarding my work. Of course, it's no. I love to have an exhibition in Copenhagen. It happens. It only happened once, maybe, or twice. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But because of my images are not Danish in that way, I don't feel it's obvious for me to exhibit all over the world, or also museums around the world where there's a lot of respect for photography and the work you do. Mm-hmm. So I grabbed that opportunity, of course.
Well, you are essentially unknown here. No, that's not quite true. You've been in the newspaper a lot, but in terms of like the fine art gallery scene, you're not even represented here by a gallery, are you?
No.
Right.
I'm working with
me, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
I'm working with a gallery in New York, and that might be the reason why I never looked for a gallery in Copenhagen, because I felt what I was told when it's Josie Milo Gallery And when I was told that when you're with him, you don't need any other gallery in the world. But I don't necessarily think that's true. Mm-hmm. Because,
but it's a big gallery. It's a well-known gallery.
It's a big gallery, but I think his opportunities of selling in Denmark, for example, is not that obvious.
He probably doesn't care about Denmark either.
No.
But
so maybe I should find a gallery. It's
I don't know. I mean, you got enough work to do anyways, it seems like. But I actually want to go back a step and talk about Greenland.
No way, dude. I'm not going to talk about Greenland.
No?
It's going to make me...
It's your first project.
Yeah, but if we start talking about Greenland, it's gonna take forever. But you control it, of course. You stay stuck.
Well, I mean, we've got plenty of time. I'm just interested in it because this is kind of like, okay, at school that was your real beginning, and you got pumped full of confidence. But Greenland is when you stepped out on your own, alone, and you decided to do it. Yeah, I made this contract with Morten Bo from Fatamorgana because he didn't believe that I would go to Greenland by myself. So it was half fun, half serious, and half seriousness. That he made this contract with me. If we applied for a grant for me to go there, and then he made me sign that if I got the money, I had to go because he didn't believe I would go, even though I got the grant. He still thought I was a pussy, yeah? A bum.
a bum.
So you got.
But I've surprised him several times. I think in that sense, I'm stronger than he thinks. Maybe
that's good.
But anyway. Yeah, I decided to go to Greenland, and the thing was, well, I got money from the Danish Cultural Ministry, some grant, and I went there completely on my own without doing much research.
You just showed up with a pair of boots and a coat and said, okay, here we go.
Yeah, exactly. Close to, actually. I mean, my father had traveled in Greenland before, and he had given me this book made by a Greenlandic artist. A painter and how do you say drawing? Someone who draws. Illustrator. Yeah. Who wrote poems as well, and he connected these illustrations with the poems, and it was to me, it was very beautiful, intimate, and about daily life in a small settlement on the east coast of Greenland.
What was the name of the artist?
Dansk, Grønlandske Dagbogsblad.
Greenlandish diary magazine, or
I have it here somewhere.
Is it different artists, or is it one?
Thomas. He's called Thomas Frederiksen, I think he's called.
Okay, all right. So this was important to you.
Yeah, because it was telling about this clash between cultures, between a traditional way of living in Greenland and a more modern. All the modern things that were coming from Denmark and what their influence was in this small society. Both with the physical things, but also mentally with the mentality of rituals and norms and values in the society, which was very different from the Danish and Greenland was colonized by Denmark in 1700 something,
right?
And so the connection has
different from each other as they could be.
Yeah, I mean it's a native population, right? It's how do you call it? Indigenous people.
Yeah.
Inuits.
Yeah.
Inuits.
Right. So you went there?
Yeah, I went there, and at first it was really crazy for me. I had never experienced anything like this because I came just around payday. It was my mistake. and people were pissed drunk. Yeah, I heard about this one settlement called Sundet, der løber tørt ved lavvanden. I think it's translated the strait that runs dry at low tide. That was the name of the settlement.
Right. in Inuit.
Yeah.
Right.
And Didgeridoo, that's how you pronounce it.
Didgeridoo.
Didgeridoo. And I thought the name of the place told a lot about the living conditions there. But they have this strait of water that runs dry at low tide, so you can't get to the settlement or can't get out of the settlement.
Okay.
And I like this picture of it in my mind, and I heard it should be really beautifully located. So I decided to go there, and there was 150 people living there, and I thought that it was a good size for me to kind of. I didn't have to see exactly the same people every day, but still it was not too big. I could get to know everyone and maybe get close to people there,
right,
to tell a story.
Right.
But I was thinking of myself very much as a documentary photographer at that time, and maybe even like a photojournalistic way. That the way I photographed was still very. It's because I come from a family with a lot of journalists and photojournalists.
That's right. Your mother's a photojournalist,
and my father was a journalist. My brother is a journalist.
Right.
So I very much grew up with that, and I thought that the only education you can get in Denmark within photography, the Danish School of Photojournalism, which is a 4-year education. So I actually got into that school as well, but after I went to Greenland once, I decided not to start because it changed my life or my view on my pictures completely.
How long were you there for?
2.5 years.
The first time?
No, 1 month.
Okay, so you went for 1 month. You went back to Denmark with a bunch of film.
Actually, yeah, with a bunch of film, but I was very disappointed with my pictures from the first trip because I had experienced something in the society or the place that had many more meanings or layers than my pictures were showing. I think I had very much photographed the outcast of the settlement, like people. I think that's always in the beginning when you come to a new place, a new location. It's almost always the outcast that they want to get in contact with you, because
the drunks.
Yeah, they are the people who need someone, especially in these very isolated places,
right?
Where the rest of the settlements, they stopped communicating with them, or they don't care about them, or whatever.
So they wanted your attention.
They wanted my attention. So many of my pictures were kind of this cliche of a settlement in Greenland destroyed by modernism or whatever.
Modern living.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
modern,
a lot to do with alcohol,
living.
right?
Yeah. A lot of abuse, a lot of alcohol.
Right.
A lot of violence.
Well, I think it's really courageous of you. I mean, to me, this is kind of like a point in which you made a decision to say, you know what, this isn't good enough. And then you went back, right?
Yeah, I went back.
Because I think most people would be like, okay, well, I'm not really happy about this, but I'm going to try to make some sort of magic here and make it into something that works. But you just said, fuck it, and threw it all out, right? I mean...
Yeah, that was like... I didn't know my equipment that well, so I had overexposed my...
You still don't.
No,
Sorry.
The thing is that I used it was very dark. I didn't know at that time how dark it would be in Greenland. That's because I was there first time during early winter.
Right. It's dark almost all the time. I mean,
yeah,
almost 24 hours a day, right?
It depends how north you go, of course, but this place I lived in for like 1.5 months, you didn't see the sun rise. There would be some light for a few hours, and then it would start to disappear again. But the sun wouldn't rise in the horizon.
Makes it hard for photography without a flash.
Well, I think that's how it started for me with the flash and and black and white, working with black and white and flash photography. Because before that, I had only used it in my color pictures.
Okay.
Which I did in the amusement park. I used color with flash, but I had never heard about black and white and flash actually, and so it was a bit a coincidence that. Well, I had a flash with me, but I always thought I was going to use it for like a fill-in flash, a put flash, something that you shouldn't notice.
Looks natural.
It looks natural, and you shouldn't notice. But there was so little light in the people's houses, and I wanted to show how they live and so on, and I just started using the flashes. Right. But then the problem was that I pushed my film at the same time, like to 1600 or 3200, and I didn't know that it was going to be completely overexposed with the flash.
With the flash, right.
So
that's a good lesson, to go somewhere for a month and photograph a bunch and then come back and realize you blew all of
like
your film.
100 films or something.
Yeah, well, that's the way
totally,
you learn.
completely fucked.
Right.
But
Did
what happened?
Yell at you when you got back?
Oh, I don't know. I was crying, man. But no, actually with him I found like 4 or 5 pictures where it kind of worked with this overexposed flash. Yeah. So instead of going against it, we went with it. That I had made a mistake, like technically, and maybe also what I had photographed or what I had been able to photograph and so on. So there was no real connection to the place or to the people. But we decided to choose 3 or 4 pictures that had something special about it visually, a language that I could build on. Mm-hmm. And so I went with these few pictures back, and then everything changed because I fell in love.
You went back to Greenland and you met a woman.
I met Sabine, and like anything else since in my life has been about this love relationships that changes my location in the world. Right. Like where I live, it's always I fall in love, and then I do everything I can, of course, to be with that person, even though I have to live far away from home or whatever. I mean, it because of course I try to create my new home with my girlfriend in that place.
So you stayed in Greenland for 2.5 years, right?
Yeah.
With Sabine.
But we also lived in Denmark in some periods.
Okay.
But shorter periods because it didn't work well. She got crazily homesick. She was used to taking care of her mother, who was always drunk and always let her down. But she felt so responsible about her that she would always want to go back to take care of her.
Well, I'm sure you understood that. You also took care of your mother for a period.
Yeah. But this was very, in a quite abusive way, I think.
Right.
But the thing is that when I met Sabine and fell in love, I didn't photograph for 4 months. I put away my camera. I put away the project. I put away everything because it didn't make any sense. And for the first time, I felt like I could breathe. I remember that I was free of all my. Because I'm a very ambitious guy in that sense, that I wanted to create amazing documentary work from the settlement, and I think when I fell in love, I understood that the pictures I had nothing to do about. They were too far away from these people.
Right, that you weren't accurately representing anything.
Yeah. So
you had to fall in love first in order to understand what the hell you were doing.
Apparently,
that makes sense.
It wasn't a plan, but it just happened. And after the 4 months, I remember exactly what happened when I started photographing again. Because my Canon, I used to have this Canon EOS equipment, and it had broken on some dog sledge trip.
Mm-hmm. Dog sled,
not sled.
It's spelled sledge, but
dog sled.
Mm-hmm.
On this dog sled trip, it broke, and I only had this small Ricoh camera.
It's essentially just an automatic camera, right?
Yeah, small pocket snapshot camera.
Yeah.
And it was this day that Sabine's sister had a child that was going to be baptized, and we were going to the church, and Sabine was dancing around on the tables in the house, and she was pulling up her dress all the time, and it was this polka dotted dress,
the tights
with torn tights.
Yeah.
And I remember this was the first time I really felt like just taking a picture. And I grabbed my small Ricoh camera and photographed it. And so I kind of got to understand that I didn't have to feel as a photographer to photograph when I was living in that settlement, but I just had to be myself. And I had to be Sabine's boyfriend, and I was trained to be a hunter as well by her family,
right?
Fisherman and hunter. So to me, that became the new ambition, to be a skilled hunter and a fisherman. And photography was something else I had on the side. It became more like a diary of my time there, and all the emotions and things I shared with Sabine.
Right.
So completely falling in love with Sabine completely changed the way I took pictures. Yeah.
How did you decide to come back to Denmark after the 2.5 years? What happened? I mean, it sounds like you were going to stay there forever, the way you describe it. You learned how to hunt, you fell in love, you found an emotional connection. What changed? Why'd you go to Denmark again?
Well, I thought I was going to live there forever. It's a complicated story, but maybe you can guess what I mean. In a small settlement like this, 150 people, to me it's the most beautiful and the most horrible place I've been in my life.
Right.
At the same time.
Right.
Like beautiful people, and I had friendships there that I never had with anyone in Denmark.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but then again, sometimes when you had been out hunting with someone and you came back to the settlement and you thought you had the most beautiful day in your life and you caught a seal or some fish and so on, then this guy or your friend you went hunting with, maybe he would get pissed drunk and get really abusive or violent, or there's a lot of like a lot of suicides. Like the last year I was there was 3 of my friends who committed suicide within 2 weeks.
Wow.
And it just got to a point, but this is like part of the life there, part of society, and that is so difficult to handle because nothing is really done about it.
Right, and you're on the edge of the world, I guess. So of course.
And then our love relationship was sometimes as complicated as this, in the sense that Sabine grew up a place where this was part of daily life. I mean, the violence,
she wasn't
the abuse.
An outsider.
No. And to me, I think many of the problems we had in our relationship was linked to our different backgrounds, of course.
Right.
And how we could, I don't know, it just became too... It sounds like... I think it was both me and Sabine giving up. I mean, it was not like I left her or she left me.
It fell apart.
It fell apart.
And then it was time to go.
Too many problems.
Yeah.
Well, I could have stayed, but then it wouldn't have been with Sabine. I mean,
right.
But it didn't make sense for me to stay there, because the reason I was there for this long was because of my love to her.
When you came back, was it only then that you realized you wanted to make a book?
Yes, I had no idea what I was going to use the pictures for. but I mean, even when I came back home, I thought I was going. When I started editing the work, I thought I was going to do a book about daily life in the settlement. I didn't think it would be about Sabine because I thought it was too personal,
right,
or too private. But then, when I was editing, and this was a long process for me, for maybe half a year, of looking at. I think for me it was a way to stay with Sabine and Greenland as well. That I isolated myself in my apartment and just looked through the contact sheets again and again, and trying to figure out what had happened, and just to keep on looking at Sabine as well. But then I had this feeling, of course, that every time there was a picture of Sabine, I could feel it in my stomach. And it was different. Like, some pictures would make me laugh, and some would make me cry, and some were painful, and some were they were all emotional somehow, or they made me feel very emotional. And I started choosing images that made me feel something, instead of thinking that I was going to do this project about daily life in settlement. Mm-hmm. But images that had an effect on me.
So you had to learn it twice.
I had to learn it twice.
It seems like you learned to take pictures based off of your emotional connection, and then you learned again to present these pictures that you were allowed to show emotional work.
Yes, I think I was scared about it because it was so.
You were afraid everyone was going to laugh at you?
No, it was so personal. But it was also about another human being. It was not pictures of me. It was pictures of Sabine.
Right, which is always tricky.
Yeah, so I felt it could make you feel like you're holding another person's life in your hands, like to publish a book about your love relationship with a woman, and the images are only about her.
Did you ask her permission?
Yes, Well, she was part of the process long before we split up, because sometimes when we were I didn't see my material when I was living in Greenland. Only when we came to Denmark, my films were developed, and she would see the pictures, and we printed and so on. Mm-hmm. So when I wanted to make the book, I sent a dummy to her, and we went through the dummy, the draft of the book, and we discussed some of the pictures and so on. It actually ended up being me who took out a few pictures
that you felt were too personal,
and not her.
Out of respect for her?
Yeah, I think so, and myself.
Yeah.
That I thought that they were crossing some limit that I didn't know exactly how to define what that limit was, but it felt wrong in some way.
Well, your book didn't suffer. I mean, I don't feel like your book was missing anything. So it was probably the right decision in some way or another. But do you feel like this was, again, another changing, like a turning point for you? Because after that, then it really kicked into gear. You published this book. It got people interested in what you were doing. One of the largest newspapers in Denmark published it, right? Politiken. Did you have a feeling like, now what? Or did you have a feeling like, here I go, it's on now. I'm gonna go out there and keep doing this?
No, I had a feeling, now what? Now what the fuck to do? Because emotionally, I was still. I don't know if I had like working with that book. It took me from I came home to it was published. It was 1.5 years.
Right.
And it took up everything in me. I was.
Did you have a job meantime?
I had like just daily work at the cleaning stuff and Tivoli and how do you say, day worker?
Just menial labor.
Yeah.
Just to pay for life.
Just to pay the rent,
Oh, okay.
the food and stuff.
And then in the meantime, you just worked on your book.
Yeah. And I think it was just very, I don't know, tough period because of this isolation, and I didn't like. I hated being in Denmark. I wanted to be in Greenland, but at the same time, I had kind of forced myself not to go because I knew it would end in a not good way. Mm-hmm. That's the feeling I had.
Well, Greenland had become Sabina too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, going to Greenland would be going to Sabina.
Of course. And so I didn't care about other people here in Denmark. I didn't care about anything else than making this book.
Right.
So that's kind of, it was so difficult afterwards to break out of that isolation and to start being interested in other people. And also I got used to this connection with between, like, that I was photographing someone that I was in love with, or someone I loved so much, that the book was a tribute to her and our life, that that I felt when I tried to take a picture of someone else, it didn't make sense. Why would I photograph anyone else than the woman I love?
Right.
So it was really difficult for me to find out how to break out of that.
How did you break out of it?
It was my twin brother who broke me out of it.
Did he slap you out of it, or did he talk you out of it, or what?
No, I think I needed to do something, and he was going to do this film in Guatemala, a documentary film, and he was missing a cinematographer, and he asked me if I wanted to go, because in some way he just knew that I also had to get out and to do something new.
Mm-hmm. And it worked.
It worked, like, in the sense that I got excited about this place in Guatemala, and after making the film, I returned by myself. I studied Spanish in a school in the mountains there, and I started living with a native family. They had eight kids. I think it was still, for me, they were even more poor than the families in Greenland. I lived with them for 1 month, and I returned later to live with them one month more. And I visited them a third time, where I didn't photograph, but I was just being there with them.
It's a pretty short period of time.
Yeah. And of course, it was nothing as close as in Greenland, because it was not about a love relationship, and that's it. But I got pretty close with the kids, and but at this time, I was still not identifying myself as being a photographer. I mean, I was still, I don't know what I was doing, but I still spent a lot of time working with them on their piece of land and stuff like this. Like, I was not working in a professional way.
You were planting vegetables and...
beans.
Right.
And
well, I'm seeing, you hunted seal in Greenland, you planted beans in Guatemala, and then you went to Tokyo.
Oh, fuck.
It's pretty wild. So what? So let's keep this going then. So after Guatemala, you went straight to Tokyo? How'd that happen?
Because I fell in love.
You hate Denmark, don't you? You just want to get the hell out of here.
I'm actually trying to get the fuck out of here, but I can't.
Yeah.
No, it's not
Keeps
true.
pulling you back.
I'm not trying to escape from things here. I like being in Denmark.
No, I know. You just like traveling and seeing stuff and doing crazy things.
Yes.
Okay, so you fell in love again.
again, it sounds like I fall in love all the time, but
Not
but
really.
but
We're only on 2 right now. This is number 2.
we actually, it's like 4 years after Sabine, so it's
Right.
kind of a new
It's a new adventure.
relationship. The difference with me is just that I happen to photograph my life, no?
Right.
In the sense that I photograph the places and the people where I live.
And you meet people that way.
Yes. So, but I think in Tokyo, my Japanese girlfriend, I met in the U.S. in Iowa, because I had an exhibition there
Iowa.
in Greenland,
Uh-huh.
at Greenland College,
Uh-huh.
and she was a student there.
Were you showing Sabina pictures?
Yeah, together with it was a exhibition with the 30 Danish photo artists,
Okay.
a group show,
Okay.
and she was working in the gallery of the college where the show was.
Mm-hmm.
And
So you said, I like you. I'm going to move to Japan.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. That's good. I like this.
Yeah.
It's a good way to do it.
Well, we yeah, she was going back to Japan to work, and so the way that we could be together was if I moved to Tokyo, and
Right.
and so I did.
And that was the only way to do it. And so you lived there for 2 years, right?
2 years.
Right. And you photographed again.
I photographed again, but not my girlfriend this time so much, but I photographed the city and the people who live in Tokyo, and I think it was still like a love project for, like in the sense that I wanted to get to know the city or the place where my girlfriend had grown up, and to know more about her, and that was a way to do it as well.
And when you were there, wasn't it about the time your career started really taking off? I mean, because that's when you called me. I met you because you called me from Tokyo.
Really?
Because you had an exhibition in New York at Yoshimilo.
Okay.
And you needed help printing photos.
Yes, that's right.
So, I mean, how did you meet Yoshimilo? How did that happen?
He wrote me an email.
So
he
he
had
just
seen
found
he had seen my show at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Shanghai.
Okay.
I was in a group show called, I don't remember what it
How
was
did
called.
that happen?
They had spotted my work somewhere else.
So
which I don't-
basically, you never really made a push to put your work out there. People
did.
found you.
No, I did. And I went to Houston in 2000 and is that 5? I'm not sure. 5 or 6.
Makes sense because I moved to Denmark in 2007 and you were coming back from Tokyo in like 2008.
8.
Yeah.
I think it must have been spring 2006 maybe. I went to the Houston Photo Fest,
Okay.
where they have portfolio review.
Uh-huh.
And
Is that a good thing?
it's amazing if you have strong work to show, and
That's always the question, isn't it?
if you have strong work to show, it doesn't really matter where.
Right. Well, I mean, they invited me. I got invited to go, and they, of course, for money. They want your money, but you never know. A lot of people want your money, so you don't know if it's actually a good thing or not.
No, I think it's good because it's a way to get through to some curators and publishers.
Okay. So important people actually go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you get 20 minutes with each, and you have a priority list or whatever.
Right.
But I got some contacts there, and I also got I got a show in Portugal from. I got chosen as one of the discovery of the meeting place. And so I had a show there, and some years after. But I got many connections from that trip.
Okay.
Yeah. And it then, since it has just been spreading, and
Right now it lives on its own.
Yeah.
So you were in Tokyo and you got invited to have a show in New York, and that's where I ended up printing for you.
Yes.
And for the record, you were a terrible boss. Although I think I was a terrible employee too.
You suck, man. No, actually, you did quite well, but it was
a fight.
It was more the way to get there. I think it was.
What about now? Let's talk about now. What are you working on?
Now, I'm working on many different projects, actually. It's crazy. It's a bit crazy this time. First of all, I'm working...
It's always crazy. Every time I meet you, it's crazy.
I'm working on 5 different exhibitions coming up within the next month.
Can you manage all this?
2 months. No, I mean I work with my beautiful interns, but they are not here right now because I had the same for 1 or 2 years, and now I need some new because they are suffering from all kind of.
You wore them down, and now they're having stress attacks. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Well, I mean, you work at an incredible pace, and I wonder if...
I think so.
Yeah, I do think so. And I wonder if this pace is necessary for you. I mean, like, is it necessary for everyone? You know, I want to be a photographer and make money and sell works and all that stuff. But I don't know if I have to work as hard as you, I might have to think twice about it.
Yeah, I think that's.
You work 12 hours a day every day.
Not anymore, but I used to. For 10 years, I did.
It's brutal.
But not anymore.
Because now you work, 9.5 hours a day?
Can we open the window a bit? It's like fucking hot in here.
It is hot in here. Do you want me to grab that?
Maybe. No, because now my I try to spend more time with family and friends and stuff. Doing other things as well. That I feel the need of that now. But
you're motivated. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, no,
I mean, you're working on 5 exhibitions. You're probably working on 3 different photo projects right now, right?
Yeah.
And now you're scratching your arm off with a screwdriver.
It's itchy, man. But there's always a lot of work I do. I mean, so I have come to the point where I have to say no to stuff.
Right.
Because I don't have time.
Well, you obviously love what you're doing.
Yes. It's no, I love but sometimes I don't take pictures for half a year.
But that's also you were working on the editing process.
Yeah, the editing exhibition and all that stuff. But also I have that I can't. To me, it's so exhausting to take pictures and to have these encounters with people as well. Even though I enjoy it so much, it's also very exhausting. So
well, you're full immersion. I mean, you do it 100% when you're doing it.
Oh yes, 100% pure energy. To me, it's also about the energy. That's also why I listen to rap, hip hop music a lot.
Uh-huh.
Like I love the energy of hip hop and taking pictures, seeing new pictures. There's nothing like seeing new photographs you have made, and the energy in producing new work.
I concur.
I love that feeling, and so yeah, to me, like it has a lot to do with the energy.
Mm-hmm. Do you have anything you want to hype? Where can people find you?
What?
Where can people find you? What's coming up? Where are your shows?
I'm in motherfucking Copenhagen, in the streets. No, hype. Well, hype. There's a show. I have 2 shows in Poland, and then one in Athens and one in Beijing, and then Paris Photo.
In November.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be big with my exhibition there at the Le Maison du Danemark.
Oh man, we didn't even talk about the fact that you're a Magnum photographer now.
It doesn't matter.
Jesus Christ. Okay, well everybody, he's a Magnum photographer, and that happened. Right? I mean, that's kind of a thing.
It's wonderful, but it doesn't really change anything about my person.
I got you. All right, well, we can wrap this up. Everyone can follow you at your website, which is
www.auesobol.dk. Are you going to spell it?
Aue Sobol is spelled AUESOBOL.dk.
That's right.
And that about does it.
All right.
Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome.
All right, I hope you guys liked that talk. I think Jacob's fascinating, and I've really enjoyed working with him throughout the years. We have somewhat of a connection. I've helped him. He's helped me. We've known each other for a while. He's hard to get a hold of because of the insane workload that he has, but he's been a good friend. So I'm on this island in the north of Denmark, and I've only been here for one day, but I feel like a caveman already. It's a really primal place. It's a small island where people mostly are fishermen, and they live kind of a rough fisherman-y life. And it's a hard life, and it makes me already feel tired just being here one day, but it hurts in a good way. It reminds me about why I make certain choices in my life and what they mean. It's good sometimes to be confronted with what it is I shouldn't say what you don't want to do, but what you remind you of what your choices bring you and where they take you and what rewards and disadvantages you reap from your choices. Like I said, we've been thinking a lot about this program. We're about to come back to you with a fall season of improvement and making a better show for you guys. I personally am going to try to tighten up the interviews, keep it more on point, try to ask more relevant questions, try to stimulate more interesting discussion. One of the other things I'm going to do is really try to tighten up these intros and outros so you guys can really look forward to a bigger and better program coming back in the next couple of weeks. And finally, in great personal news, I won a fairly major photo contest. It's a fairly important prize for exposure in the photo world, in the art world. I don't know yet what it means, but I've been getting a lot of attention, and my brain has been wrapped up in that world. So it's, I tell you, if you're a young artist working out there, try your best to get some recognition. Anything really helps. Just having, it's a hard road. You gotta get someone to pat you on the back every once in a while. So I'm riding high on that wave right now, and we'll see. I'm gonna have a show in Barcelona. There's gonna be a book made. It's great news for me personally. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. I hope that's of interest to you. It certainly is of interest to me. And hang tight out there. We'll be back before you know it, stronger than ever. And if you guys work hard, then we promise to work hard too. All right. Do a good job, guys. Talk to you next week. This week's episode brought to you by Undergang Unlimited. Intro and outro music provided by MGT Beats. Catch a link to MGT Beats on our About page. Intro and outro music faithfully provided by RC. There's a link to RC on our show notes for this page. Go check out Jacob's photos, Magnum photography, and all sorts of other great links on our show notes for this episode. You can see some of Jacob's work. There's a portal to all sorts of great stuff there. Where is that, you ask? That is on our website, undergang.net. Everything's there. All previous episodes, comment boards, email addresses, everything you could possibly want at undergang.net. Find us on Twitter at The Undergang on Twitter. We keep you updated with news. We retweet interesting stuff, art news, news about Denmark, anything that grabs our attention. You can subscribe and download episodes on iTunes and on Stitcher. There's links to that on our website. And you can always, if you feel up for it, leave a review, good, bad, whatever, on iTunes and Stitcher. Let other people know what you think about the show. Thanks for listening. Catch you guys next week on The Upswing.